Hello students, welcome to Summer FYI 169AB Learning to Serve. I'm just sitting out here at my house outside of Shadron in the pine trees, and just wanted to say hello to everybody and welcome to the course this summer. I was going to go over a few things, just very broad introduction. That's what we do basically in our first day in the course. So I thought I would just start by pointing out that on the main page here you'll see that we have kind of an overview. This is part of the new CSC template that they're asking us to use for a little bit more consistency amongst our online courses. So I'm trying this out this summer. And what you'll see today, or you should have already seen this if you're in our particular lesson, is the overview, which tells you how to get started in the course, how to meet your instructor, and how to do the course orientation. So a good chunk of what we're doing today is kind of orientation, getting up to speed on the course. And I'll note that as you walk through the links, or if you've walked through the links of the course orientation, there is a lot of material to sort of explore, and it's kind of condensed in sort of a pretty dense packet for you today. But if you're new to online learning, I would suggest that you go through all of these various modules. The online learning orientation, for those of you who've taken online courses before, maybe is not quite as necessary. But for our course in particularly, you want to really spend some time exploring the syllabus and the supplement, How We Will Learn Online. One thing I will point out about this document, How We Will Learn Online, is that it has a couple of the key features of the course that students oftentimes have questions about, such as how will the course be sort of set up? How often will we meet? And so here in this document, I attempt to explain this. And one of the things that I go through in that document, and again, it's mostly dense text, but I'm trying to just alert you to this, is that this is a course that is normally taught in a 16-week format, and it's condensed into an 8-week format. It's normally taught in a classroom and face-to-face, and instead we're doing this online. So there are certain issues that come up with that sort of adaptation of the course into an online version, and you should be aware of those as you're getting ready to go through the course. And you should, according to the formula that's been established by the state college system, you should be planning to spend about 17 to 18 hours a week working on this course. So it is accelerated. It is a online version of this. So we have to do a lot of the material we would normally do through classroom interactions and discussions. We do online through reading a lot and doing a lot of forums and doing a lot of activities and things like that. So please be aware of that. Please also be aware that the course is set up into basically these 4 main units. We have this emphasis in our FYI that is on service learning, so experiential learning. And so that will be the theme. And what you'll see in the first week or so is we're going to be reading a lot about just issues related to service learning as a theme, and areas of need in various communities, areas where we can help. Sort of the background information, as I say, Unit 1, preparing for service learning. Your first 3 lessons will take you through this, and you'll explore as a class some of the major features from our textbook about service learning. And then Unit 2 is when we start to really dig into the inquiry element of the class. You start researching and writing and doing assignments that help you orient towards issues or concerns or problems in your communities that you would perhaps like to complete a service project for. And that's the inquiry element of the course. So that's the bulk of the course. You'll see that we have about 7 lessons, about 3.5 weeks. A good chunk of the course is built in this inquiry-guided, finding an issue, coming up with ways to address it in an actual project. Unit 3 then is the point of time when you're actually doing your service project. About 2 weeks field experience. You're out doing your work. We will be checking in the class, but we won't be doing as much direct work in the class. You're kind of off on your own doing your service project, taking notes, and then at the end of the course, Unit 4, you compile a final report, you reflect, and you write about this, and that's the basic sort of overview of the course. The other major element or question that students have about this, and I've taught this course online several times previously, and this this format seems to work pretty well, is that we have divided up our lessons so that they fall twice a week. So we meet online twice a week, and we're doing work, a lot of work in between those class meetings. So we post a new class meeting, like the meeting we posted today on Monday. Our next class meeting is posted on Thursday at noon. And so therefore, generally, you begin your activities on that Thursday. You complete whatever readings and assignments are listed in the main schedule, and you go through all that, and then you generally have until the next lesson is posted. In that case, it would be the following Monday, and it starts over again, right? So there's plenty of time to work. Most of our assignments are not what we call synchronous. They're asynchronous, so you can work on forum activities and other things on your own schedule. It's very flexible, but you do need to respond as per the instructions in each of these modules for quizzes and forums and other activities. Follow the guidelines carefully, follow the due dates carefully, and you should be fine. And generally you have until that next class meeting to post everything. So that's the basic format of the course. We meet twice a week with a lot of work in between. The rest of this document that's in that syllabus area with the questions about technology and all that sort of stuff, you can read on your own. I hope that's self-explanatory. One thing I do want to stress is that if you have any issues or concerns in the course, just email me. For the next 8 weeks, I will be here at home for the most part. I'm going to be doing a little bit of traveling, but not a whole lot this summer, and so I'll be accessible. I check my email all the time. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Communication is key in an online course, obviously. The other thing I would point out is if you go to our main page that you landed on today for the course, it will be shifting a little bit as we get to next week. So this is sort of the welcome week page that you'll open on. This gets you oriented to the activities. This gets you started. But for the rest of the course, you're going to land on what we call the home page. The home page, you'll notice I just clicked on it. It is accessible to you in the left menu. It's just not the one that's coming up when you log into the course presently. It has our complete schedule, and that will always be posted on the home page. It's always updated. It's always accessible. This is kind of your Bible for the course. Just follow this. Everything I just said about meeting twice a week is kind of represented here for the next 8 weeks. All the units are distributed. You can kind of see the basic flow of the course. You can see when the reading assignments are. And we'll go over all that much more carefully here in the next couple lessons. And then finally, you should be aware that there's announcements that get posted on that main home page as well. So keep track of those. One of the elements of the orientation that you should have sort of gone through today, if you stepped through those links in the orientation module, is the syllabus, and I hope you take some time to look at that carefully. And what I would say about the syllabus is that, let me see if I can open it here, as you pull it up, there's a couple of key information items that you need to be aware of. One is all about the FYI and what that means and sort of the course theme and approach. That's covered a little bit more fully in our lesson for today. And then this is an important section of the syllabus. It has to do with the course materials. So these are books you really need to get a hold of, and I posted notes in today's lessons. But this is our main textbook, Learning to Serve, okay? Learning Through Serving. And the publication information is in the syllabus, but this is a book we're going to be beginning on Thursday. So if you don't have a copy of this, I sent an email out to everybody enrolled in the course last week. You really need a copy of this. It's very accessible. It's widely available in all your basic book sites, and as well as all the textbooks for this course. And it is obviously available through our online bookstore through CSC. The other two books that we'll be reading, starting next week, you'll need to sort of dig into A Path Appears, so you want to get a copy of this text. And then a little bit later in the course, we'll be reading a novel that sort of expresses some of these ideas, Behold the Dreamers. Okay, so these are all the reading materials for the course. And the other element from the syllabus that our lesson today that I posted, kind of a written out explanation of what we would sort of go through in a regular class meeting if we were meeting in a classroom, is I go over basically how the course is structured. And what you're going to see is for this online course, these sorts of things that we're doing today, quizzes, discussion forums, that sort of stuff, those are weekly assignments. That's about 400 points probably a little bit more over the course of the 8 weeks that we're together. These are all the elements that form about 40% of your course grade. The remainder is focused on this inquiry project, this service learning project. As you can see, 600 points is outlined in the syllabus there. As you go through that schedule that we just looked at on our homepage, you'll see that you'll go through a series of these 16 lessons, and it will take you through this process where you start to think about what service learning is. You go down this process, you come up with a proposal at some point, which is our first major writing project, and that's worth 200 points. And then you work through your proposal, and if it's approved, then you go and do your project. And in that project, when you're doing your service project, you have to write a series of progress reports about your project. That's our second written project. It's worth 100 points. And then it ends up with a final report, which is basically a summary of all your work over the course of the semester. It's the most important written document you do. It represents all the inquiry guided, all the outcomes for the course, all wrapped up in that final report. It's very important, and that's our final written project for the course. The other elements of the syllabus that are very important have to do with late work, turning things in. Generally, any of the assignments are only open because they're all sort of online accessible. They only stay open for about 24 hours after the due date. There are late penalties when you post late. Again, the key is to communicate to me. If you have issues or extenuating circumstances, just communicate with me. But be aware that generally we're working in sync. We're working together, unit to unit. You can't generally work ahead, and you can't spend too much time behind, right? So we're kind of trying to go in lockstep as a class. That's how we learn together. So make sure that you review all these elements in the syllabus carefully, and that you're very familiar with all the rules and the requirements and the outcomes for the course. And finally, just to wrap up here with today's lesson, lesson number 1 is kind of this orientation to the course. In my lesson notes, I just try to really stress this point about our approach towards inquiry. The brown-headed cowbird is making quite a lot of noise. Towards our emphasis on inquiry this semester, we're using service as kind of a vehicle to explore a project-oriented, service-oriented sort of experience that really it's just an excuse to get you to explore and write about something and really think about problem solving. There's also quite a bit of emphasis in the official outcome for SLO number 1 in our Essential Studies program, which the FYI fulfills. There's a lot of emphasis on this idea of inquiry and what that means, and also collaboration. So those are explained a little bit more fully in the lesson. And I want you to think about how this is really the key element. You're going to be working somewhat independently in all your various locations that we're going to learn about in our lesson, in our forum today when you guys introduce yourselves to each other. But I've done this a couple summers in a row now, and it's really, really exciting. You'll have people from across the country, or in the past we have, doing a wide variety of projects, and those are outlined in some of the materials I posted today. And I will talk much more about that in the upcoming lessons. We'll look at a lot more specific projects that students have completed over the years to try and give you an example of how this works. I just want you to not get overwhelmed with this first day. There's a lot of text. I would take several days to go through. Just come back, read through it. You're just getting oriented to the course. I will really try to strip down and not have quite so much text-heavy materials posted in the remaining lessons. We just have a lot of information and material to get to you in this first class meeting and first lesson. And don't be discouraged. You know, the readings are really meant to supplement our work. FYI is a 100 level course, and I know some of you are more advanced students who are doing this before you graduate. It's really meant to sort of get everybody geared up for what we want to have happen at Sharon State College, is to open up our minds to problem solving, and it's all about experiment, exploration, problem solving. You know, don't freak out too much. We want to really try some new things this semester, this summer, and just explore them as fully as possible, and then write about them and share our experiences. It's really that simple. And hopefully we'll have some collaboration along the way, and I'm looking forward to it. I've really enjoyed this course over the summers, watching students develop these projects independently and then also in collaboration with each other throughout the course when we share and respond to each other. So if you have any questions at all, email me. My email and contact information are throughout the course. Let's have a good 8 weeks. Thanks for joining Service Learning this summer.